Hi, so today we're talking about why men lose interest, 2-3 months into dating. And I see this so often, you meet a guy and you're both really keen, he seems to be really keen on you, and you're thinking, okay, this guy is gonna be different because he's really keen on me. And then 2 to 3 months later, you find that, his texts are not so frequent anymore. You go from 4 to 5 dates a week to 2 to 3, and then to 1, and then not even once a week, and you're wondering, where did I go wrong? Been there, done that, totally get it. This week for yourtango.com, I actually wrote an article about why men suddenly lose interest at the 2 to 3 month mark, and I'll get into the details. So number one reason why he might be losing interest is it could be that you guys are just on different relationship timelines. And I think women and men view relationships very differently, and they go at a different pace. I mean, not just men and women, like different people have get into a relationship. Some take more time, some like to get into it right away. So it's often a conflict of a relationship timeline. So for example, a woman in a relationship could be dating, for a guy for 1 to 2, 3 weeks, and automatically she is already treating him like he's her boyfriend, and so she acts accordingly. Whereas a guy who is in the same relationship is probably just thinking, oh, we're just dating, I'm just getting to know her to see where things go. So often this conflict in timelines makes one party feel rushed. So a woman could be dating a guy for 1 to 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden thinking, wait a minute, where is this going? And then she might bring up the conversation way too early, and when that happens, the other party doesn't feel like they're just dating anymore. They feel like they don't have time, and they feel like they need to make a decision like right now as to where the relationship will go. So that actually brings me to my second point. Second point is that maybe he's suddenly losing interest, or he isn't as keen because he feels the pressure to make a decision. So it's really important that women and men give the other person time and space to consider if a relationship with you is for them. So where I mentioned this before, one party could be thinking that they're already in a relationship, and the other one's just dating and seeing how things go. So you have to give time for the other person to come to that conclusion that they want to be in a relationship with you. It's not something that you can convince them. And I feel like the more pressure they feel to make that decision, the more they'll withdraw, because they can't give you what you want. And maybe it's not a forever thing. Maybe it's that they can't give you what you want right now, but the pressure of having to deliver that can be too much for some people. So third reason is, I'm just gonna take a look at my notes, because I wrote it, but then I can't remember it off by heart. Okay, number 3 is that this sucks, but he may have lost interest in you, and maybe he's too afraid to tell you. And I have heard this come out of so many people's mouths, especially men who say, if I'm no longer interested in someone, I'll just be a dickhead, I'll just be an asshole and have her break up with me. It's so much easier that way. Everybody wins. I'm the asshole. I get what I want. I get out of the relationship, and she gets a little of her pride back. So men hate confrontation. They hate to be the one to break up with you. So it's likely that they'll kind of make themselves scarce so that you have a reason to say, hey, this isn't working out. I think I deserve more. Number four, the fourth reason why men lose interest is it could be that just the infatuation is no longer there. In the beginning of the relationship, we're all on our best behavior, and everyone is kind of just figuring out if attraction's there. But once you get to the 2-3 month mark and you get to know your values and what an inkling of what you really like, it could be that he finds that there's no compatibility, or there isn't enough foundation to go the distance. And this has nothing to do, there's nothing wrong with you. In dating, you're either gonna break up with them, or you're gonna marry them, or if you're not gonna get married, spend the rest of your life with them. So that's the reality of dating, that not everyone is always gonna work out. So it could just be that this guy is not the guy for you, and it's totally okay. Number 5, the 5th reason why men suddenly lose interest is it could be that you've stepped into your masculine. So I see this happen so many times, and especially in the beginning of the relationship, where things are kind of delicate. A guy will maybe is keen on the pursuit in the beginning, and then as soon as he starts dropping on his calls, maybe he goes from calling every day to every other day, and he's not as consistent as he used to be. Some women tend to just take the situation in their hands and then be the guy. So if a guy's not calling them as often, they'll say, hey, it's 2018, I can call him too. So what they're doing is they're compromising and over-compromising for the guy not showing up. And what this does is it switches the roles between them. So all of a sudden, the woman becomes the chaser and the guy becomes a chasee. Now the guy is not used to being chased, and maybe he's not familiar with it, and all of a sudden this relationship doesn't feel quite right. And it could just be that they needed the time to figure out if they wanted a relationship with you. But meanwhile, you're hot on pursuit, you're asking him about where things are going, and you're hinting that you want a relationship, and he hasn't had time to decide yet. So if you go into chasing the chase mode, he all of a sudden doesn't really know what to do with himself. And in a lot of situations, guys will kind of draw away because he doesn't feel like this is familiar and doesn't feel quite right. So my top tips on kind of remaining balanced in the beginning of the relationship and letting the guy pursue you, if that's what you want, are these 3 things. So number 1 is take care not to invest too early. So I see a lot of people just kind of put all their eggs in one basket in the beginning and try to make every person they date into a relationship, and that's not really practical because they're not all going to be right for you. So my the fail-proof tip is to match their investment. So if a guy is investing in you and he's calling you every day, you can reciprocate. Right? So it's like all relationships. There's give and take. As soon as you feel like you're the one who's always giving and not taking, that's really when you need to value it, whether this relationship is serving you. Number 2 is give people space. Give people space to figure out what they want in a relationship with you, whether or not what you two have can go the distance. I wouldn't broach the topic of what are we until you've really established an emotional connection with someone, and probably in maybe the end of month 2 to month 3. I mean, by month 1 you should know whether or not they're ready for a commitment, not with you, just in general. But in 2-3 months you should know whether or not it's something that they want to pursue with you. Now, the 3rd tip is remember that not one person can do the work in a relationship. So if a guy has stopped showing up, you can't be the one to do the work for the both of you. You can't be the chaser and the chasee in a relationship. It just doesn't work that way. And if you feel like a guy isn't investing in you, it's probably wise to look elsewhere, because not all relationships are meant to last forever, and it's okay for people to come and go. If you want to know how to spot a guy who's commitment ready in 3 dates, sign up to my newsletter, 30everafter.com, sign up to my freebies, and you will get them. Or you can email me. It's iona@30everafter.com. That's iona@30everafter.com. If you like this video, please leave a comment or subscribe to the channel. I upload a video once a week. And I hope you like it, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks. Bye.